Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You wanna go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Ladies and gentlemen, Barbies and Kens, Kellys of all ages, and everyone else, welcome to Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast. I'm your host, Jay, and with me I have my wonderful co-host. Don't make me wish I had kept the horse instead of you, John.
Well, the horse costs more.
For those of you just joining us, we are a podcast about Barbie movies. Every week we watch one of the straight-to-DVD animated Barbie movies, and we rate its story, characters, animation, voice acting, and music to see how it stacks up. This week we'll be talking about the 9th animated Barbie movie, Barbie in the 12 Dancing Princesses. And joining us this week, you may recognize her from our other podcast, my sister, Emma.
Hello.
Now, Emma, before we dive into things, I was wondering if you could tell us about your Barbie history. Have you ever seen any of the movies, or did you own any dolls?
Yeah, so definitely when I was little, I had a lot of dolls and liked playing with them. And then I've watched quite a few movies, but it's been like teenage years since I watched the last one, I think. So it was nice diving into another this year just for the podcast.
Well, yeah, let's dive into this one. So it was released September 10, 2006 on Nickelodeon and September 19th on DVD. Just like a lot of these recent Barbie movies, it had its TV premiere before the DVD release, but just a few days ahead. This is another one only released on DVD. They've stopped doing VHS releases at this point. And this is actually the first Barbie movie released under Universal in the United States.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, so retroactively the Universal logo was applied to other Barbie movies, but those were released under, I believe Lionsgate was all of them. So if you have any of the original releases, it actually has the Lionsgate logo in front of them. So yeah, just a little fun tidbit for anyone who's curious. This movie was directed by Greg Richardson. He was the editor on a ton of the Barbie movies, the early Barbie movies, and he's also the director of Magic of Pegasus. So this is the second one of his movies we're talking about. And it was written by our favorites, Cliff Ruby and Alana Lesser.
Mm-hmm.
They've written most of the Princess Barbie movies so far. And the music is once again by Arnie Roth. And it includes songs by Felix Mendelssohn, the classic composer, and there are also a few original songs written by Arnie Roth, Amy Powers, and Rob Hudnut, all of whom we've talked about before. Amy Powers did a lot of the lyrics for Princess and the Pauper. And yeah, the story this time around is loosely inspired by the Brothers Grimm story of the same name. This is our first story based on a fairy tale since Swan Lake, and the first non-original movie we've had in a while, because the Fairytopia movies are original stories as well.
What about Princess and the Pauper? Was that not a fairy tale?
That wasn't really a fairy tale because that's a Mark Twain book, but it's similar. It's in a similar vein. And yeah, the original Brothers Grimm fairy tale, like a lot of these, is very different from the Barbie movie. The Barbie movie follows the titular 12 princesses, who they love dancing, as the title might suggest, and their father is this king. He's a single father, his wife has passed away, and he's worried that his daughters aren't being proper enough princesses, and he's worried that he doesn't have the capability to raise them well, so he invites his cousin, Duchess Rowena, to help him out, but unbeknownst to him, she has this evil scheme to poison him and take over the kingdom. So the princesses have to uncover this plot and save their father. And yeah, the original story, again, very different. That is actually, it follows a soldier, not the princesses, he has to like figure out what the princesses are doing at night. And then once he figures it out, then the king lets him marry the eldest of the princesses. In this one, the romance is between one of the middle princesses and their cobbler. Princess Genevieve is sort of the main character here. That's the Barbie character.
If you could even call it a romance.
Yeah, the romance isn't
They
highlighted.
dance together.
They dance together. That's enough to get married.
Exactly.
Other films, they're just happy together. Here, they straight up got married.
Yeah, and it is weird that the movie ends in a wedding, because the romance up until that point is like a side plot.
Right. Right, because the entire time the bird's like, come on, man, talk to the girl. He doesn't. And then they're now married.
Yeah, it's very much like they needed a wedding to end this movie, and that's the wedding they had.
And they needed Genevieve to finally not be late to something.
Yes.
Maybe they just cut all of those romantic scenes for the dance sequences.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's more been in keeping with some of these other Barbie movies where the romance is less important than whatever else is going on.
But they've been done better.
Yeah, definitely not one of the better romances. I think part of the issue, and the movie does a very good job balancing so many characters.
Does
in
it?
that it never feels like too much. The problem is,
Are you sure?
to me, it never felt like too much.
Okay.
But that's mainly because most of these side characters aren't actual characters. They're just kind of there in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have the youngest of the princesses, Kelly, or not Kelly. She's the model for Kelly. Her name is, I have it here, Princess Lacey.
Mm.
And she's kind of the token. She's there to be the unsure and a little bit scared about things character. So she has a bit of an arc, but besides her and Genevieve, most of the other princesses have like one character trait.
And they all look and sound the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we'll obviously get into that more with the characters, but it is like it never gets in the way of the plot.
Mm.
But it also is like maybe 12 is too many main characters to have.
Mm-hmm.
You could have 5 dancing princesses, although the title of the story is The 12 Dancing Princesses, so.
Yeah, because that number does become a problem later on in the film.
It's hard to keep track of where everyone is in the finale.
Or it's also just a problem in the story in general.
Okay, I just want to know, like, did the mom have it planned out? Because she gives books to all her children that have the flowers on them, and that's how they figure out where to step in, what order to step in. So did the mom plan on having 12 daughters?
Like, how early did she start construction
Yeah,
on
when
that
did she
little
start
pavilion?
planning this? When did all of this? I just want to know the background on how the mom figured out how to get 12 daughters. And
She got 12, and it's like,
Before
okay,
dying.
that's enough.
Yeah. There are some odd plot conveniences. I will say, though, overall I thought the plot was pretty good.
Okay.
Apparently I'm the only one here who thought that. I like the political intrigue of it. I like the
There's
whole...
political intrigue?
Well,
well, the cousin trying to take over the throne, right?
yeah.
That's political intrigue?
Yeah, that's sort of the poisoning and it's fun. And
Yeah.
then even the Duchess sort of trying to make these princesses conform and them being like, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to go dancing at night.
But
I
they
just
did
think
it.
That's fun. Well, they go dancing. Like, their acts of rebellion are like small, but they're significant.
The entire time, I just never felt that the conflict of the whatever her name is, Duchess. I never really felt the conflict with the Duchess because she's just one person against 12 teenage girls. All the girls had to do was just not do anything. And there was nothing that could be done. Like, they could just ignore her. Like they typically do, don't they? If they're not respected and don't respect the person, they're just not gonna do it. It's 12 against 1.
And I think where it works is that they're trying to do right by their father.
Are they though?
So here's the thing. What could solve this is if immediately the king made the Duchess into a stewardess and gave her a higher power. Then I'd believe, okay, she has power over the girls to do stuff. Versus, she's just some cousin who showed up and it's kind of mean.
Very mean. I would say the poisoning is a little severe. I do think that the plot line that works best in this movie is when it is a story of an exhausted but loving single father trying to do what is right for his daughters.
Mm-hmm.
And that his arc in the movie is the biggest arc of any of the characters because he has to learn that, like, his daughters may not be typical princesses, but that's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
He has to just learn to be okay with it rather than trying to change them.
Although I will say, like, the plot seemed to have kind of come out of nowhere because this one guy's like, oh, we should do a ball. And the king's like, okay, sure. And then he meets all the princesses and there's like, and then the guy is like, oh, your princesses aren't princess-like. And then the father says, like, oh, yeah, after growing up with them for 20 years. You know? It, like, takes him forever to realize that.
Yeah.
And the incident was a guy telling him. So I feel like that could have been done better, too.
Yeah, and then the ball never comes back as a significant plot
That
point.
could have been the end instead of the wedding.
Yeah, you could have... Because that would be a more consistent through line if the dad's like, hey, there's this ball going on and y'all need to shape up and be good princesses.
Yeah, because immediately we're given a timeline to work with.
Yeah.
Instead, the reason why I feel like the plot took a while is that we got to halfway through the film, and that's when we get the secret magical garden. But there's still not much going on the villain side. Yes, she's quote-unquote poisoning the king, but nothing's really being done besides that. Like, what's happening? Where's the conflict with the girls besides they have strict guardianship, which they do kind of need, but nothing was going on at that point.
Yeah, I wonder if it would work better, because we never get a sense for the kingdom outside of the palace.
Mm-hmm.
So when the king falls ill, there's no sense of, like, what kind of duties is he missing? How's the kingdom responding to it? It's just kind of like, oh, their dad is sick.
Yeah, and once again, they don't have that many guards until Queen hired some.
Well, this is something that Sarah pointed out. They don't even have tutors for the princesses or anything like that either.
Because
the Duchess at one point is complaining like, "Oh, it's too much for me. I need a whole team. Maybe I should just leave or something." Like trying to get the king to be like, "No, you should stay."
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, and then Sarah was like, "Wait, they should already have a team of tutors for the princess, and where's everyone else?" And
imagine if it was 12 against 12. The Duchess comes in with 12 minions. That'd be so much. Too many characters.
Yeah, I think they're stretching.
They'd be able to handle 12 characters. So.
Yeah, even if she had, like, one or two people with her besides Desmond.
Or the monkey.
Although I don't think she's very rich. If you saw the carriage that she arrived in, it was falling apart.
Yeah.
I think she's lacking in the money department and can't actually hire anyone.
Of course.
Yeah, because the poison guy, well, the apothecary guy, mentioned something about how usually she doesn't follow through on her payments. And then she steals the cup from the castle.
Mm-hmm.
The silver cup, which kind of disappears, but yeah, maybe she's...
Do they never restore the mother's painting?
They never show it being restored. I assume they put it back.
I think it's just got burnt. Like, that's just what the Duchess would do. She takes away the painting, burns it, it's just gone.
Yeah. I do think that's a great payoff moment because when she first arrives, she stands in front of the portrait, and then to have that come back later, that's a cool visual callback.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, maybe they could have. It would have been even more powerful if then they have. Well, here we're putting the portrait of the queen back up.
Or even better, at the wedding, the portrait's just in the background with the king up there on the altar. And the king's talking to the portrait. It's like, oh, they've grown up so fast. Oh.
Yeah, that would give the king a bit more to do at the end. I do think the ending is fun here. Not necessarily the wedding, but the sort of final act where the princesses have to escape this dancing pavilion magical area.
It is, but it takes so long to get there.
Yeah, but once it starts, then you get all of the different, well, not all of them, but some of the princesses get to show off their unique skills. Barbie gets to use a flail. That's pretty cool.
The bugs never come up again.
The bugs don't come up again. They showed up. But
hey, bugs!
Yeah.
Bugs! We have bugs here!
Oh yeah, because we were wondering in Barbie Mermaidia why the evil villain gets turned into a frog at the end instead of a bug, because her wing design is like very fly wing-esque or dragonfly wing. And so we were wondering if maybe it was because bugs are a common phobia. But yeah, this movie, it even has a spider in a case.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very friendly homes for them. I'm sure they love those cases.
Yeah, velvet cases are good for bugs, I assume.
Yeah.
But yeah, you do get like the stilt princesses get to go on the stilts. The croquet princesses get to play croquet. Like, you get a little bit of that. The horse riding princess rides her horse.
What did the reading princess do?
Nothing.
She just sat back and read.
Yeah, because some of them, it's like, oh, look, it's the stilts from the beginning. But then you're like, what's the book princess going to do? Oh, nothing? She's just
you got the three little princesses doing nothing. Well.
One of them brings the water,
yeah,
though they don't set up the water.
They don't. I mean, they set up the water in the beginning that it heals, but they never have her take the water with her.
They never show it.
She just pulls it out of nowhere, and I'm just like, where'd she get that? What is that thing? Did I miss a scene? Was I not paying attention? No, it was the water.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, the water. It's magical. I wish they set that up more.
Yeah, because in the story that they read from their mom, it mentions that the princess brought some magic back with her. So that's foreshadowing pretty overtly, but you need to show the scene where the princess takes the water with her. Otherwise it just kind of feels out of nowhere. And I even remembered, because I watched this movie a bit growing up, and for some reason I had remembered that they have the silver cup that the cobbler brings them. I thought, oh, do they fill that with water to bring to the king? And it's like, no, that happens off screen with a completely different object.
Right. As soon as Derek gets the silver cup, he just puts it right on his little wagon and goes off. Doesn't even put it in a bag or safe. It's just sitting there.
Yeah. A cup that is apparently worth a horse.
Mm-hmm.
Or a podcast co-host.
It's a magical cup. I mean, it's really... Hey, I'm worth that much.
They really could have just had a scene where someone, like one of the princesses goes and is like, oh, maybe this can heal father, and then scoops up some water, and then they continue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Although I think if you do that too early, the problem is then it's like, well, why didn't they use the water right away?
Or they could have had the following done later
Yeah.
and just set it up right then and there rather than at the very beginning.
Yeah. I think they could have introduced it earlier. I think the reason they did it is because of if they introduce it, the idea that they could bring it back too early, that it...
So Derek is not that good of a cobbler if his shoes doesn't even last one day.
Well, that's how the original story goes. And these are, like, dancing shoes specifically. They look even...
But, like, you want your shoes to last longer.
Yeah, but the dancing shoes, often people, like, dancers will go through shoes very quickly. I know especially ballet dancers. And I think that's kind of what they're doing here. But yeah, he does come back every day with a new pair of shoes for them.
He's
and it's
really
12,
fast at making them.
It's 12 princesses, and it's like, how much money is the kingdom spending per year on these shoes if the 12 princesses get new shoes every day?
Yeah. I mean, at least it's a repeat customer service for the guy.
Yeah, maybe they have a monthly subscription.
Who's gonna make their shoes now that they're married?
Good point.
Well, do they still have the wishing flower thing? Maybe they can just wish shoes. I was wondering why they weren't doing that to begin with, but they can wish shoes into existence.
I was expecting that flower to come up with a counter curse, because at the end they could have just wished for something as well.
Yeah.
It doesn't specifically have to be the person holding the flower. You just gotta say wish for it. And the flower will do whatever, because it's stupid.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I do like the moment where Rowena tries to use the flower, and then Princess Genevieve, using the fan, which was set up earlier in the movie, blows it back on her.
But it also just comes out of nowhere that she pulls out this fan. Like, she's not even practicing. It's just... It's a hilarious moment, but it's like, really, the fan saves the day.
I thought that whole part was fun, though, where it's like Rowena wishes for these suits of armor to attack, and then Princess Genevieve and Derek have to fight off these suits of armor together. Mm-hmm. And then the whole poetic justice of the curse being turned back on the villain. We mentioned that as far back as Rapunzel, with the whole never release your prisoner with a lion heart. Now that was a bit more poetic, whereas here it's just magic fan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not magic fan. Magic flower in a fan. Yeah, I think I overall liked the story more than either of you did. I really...
What gave you that idea?
I really like the king's arc here. I think it's compelling. I think it could have been given a bit more time.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think it works well. I like the whole political intrigue side of things. It maybe doesn't all come together perfectly in the end.
I don't know what her plan was.
Yeah,
like, if her plan was to kill the king, it would just go to the daughters. It wouldn't go to her.
Except she
was made queen, though.
Yeah.
Right, no, but like before that, like, was her plan always to get him sick until they make her? That's a risky plan, because it won't always work. Because the king could just be so blind that he could just be like, oh, make my eldest daughter queen.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Rowena doesn't even realize that the princesses are gonna disappear.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that was a big part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, for me, it didn't ruin it. I did think they waited a bit too long to reveal her plan, and she never really...
I mean, we knew her plan from the very beginning.
Yeah. It's not subtle, but it isn't... Like, thinking back to Princess and the Pauper with Preminger, he lays out his plan step by step to the audience in the first scene he's in. So there's never any question of, like, what's he doing in this scene?
Yeah.
Whereas here it's like, she doesn't ever really explain what's going on. And, I mean, for an adult audience, you don't need that. For a kid audience, sometimes you need that scene of, this is exactly what's going on. This is why it's happening. Here it's more just implied, and then at the very end, it's like, oh no, she's poisoning the king.
She won't even let them dance or celebrate a birthday party.
Yeah, that seemed a little bit cruel.
Yeah, for
I
that,
mean, at that point, that's really where the girls just stop following her rules. I mean, like, we're
Yeah.
just gonna go to Papa and celebrate ourselves. We don't need you.
I wish they gave more background on why the Duchess was so opposed to dancing and all that. Like, it sounds like there's some kind of trauma or something, and
Trauma.
I mean, like, really?
Yeah.
Because she's like, no dancing, no singing at all. So there's got to be something there, but maybe it's not appropriate for a kids' movie to dive into the reasons.
She wanted to be the queen with the king. But they were cousins, so they couldn't do that.
Well, there's something like specific with dancing and singing. I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's just that kind of like thing of like, oh, the villain hates fun. But yeah. They could have gone with
What if the mother and the father were like dancing and that's how they got together, and so that's where the trauma comes from. She's like, if you dance you end up together, and she doesn't want any of the kids dancing.
Well,
something weird.
She also doesn't want them dancing because she thinks that they're dancing with guys.
Yeah.
I don't know why she went to that conclusion. Like, where are the guys coming from? There aren't even 12 guys in the castle.
Where are the princes coming from?
Yeah.
Is Derek a prince? Nope.
Nope, not until the end.
No.
Yeah, that is the... Again, we don't get a sense for the kingdom outside of the palace.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like a bit of a missed opportunity. Now, overall, I gave the story a 4.5 out of 5. Just because I find the king's arc compelling and I find the plot very, like, interesting. I don't think it works as well as some of these other Barbie movies, but I do think it's up there in... It actually has arcs, it actually has setups and payoffs. It does it all come together perfectly, but I think it works to some degree.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5 because I felt that it took a long while to get to places. I wasn't believing the conflict with the Duchess and the girls because, again, you have so many characters, but they're being overshadowed by this one person with not that much power.
Yeah, and I gave it a 3. And I mean, the story's fun. It was a really interesting watch, but I feel like all the characters are exactly where they were before, except for the Duchess, who's worse off. But like, at the very beginning, the father completely accepted his daughters for who they are. At the very end of the movie, the father completely accepts his daughters for who they are, and no one's really changed in any significant way. Like, the princesses aren't like, oh, maybe we should be more princess-like, or anything like that. So, yeah. Felt like there wasn't really anything that happened.
One of them got married.
Well, yeah, one of them got married.
Speaking of that one, Princess Genevieve is our first character here.
Mm-hmm.
She's a pretty standard Barbie heroine.
Yeah.
She's always late, and that's the only thing that really distinguishes her from any of the other Barbie heroes so far.
Part of me wishes she was late to the wedding. Like, it would just be a cool callback and be like, oh yeah, she's still the same person, or something like that.
Yeah.
The father's whole thing was accepting his daughters for who they are, so if she was still the same person, you know. Or if they had some kind of revelation for her or something, I don't know. Felt like that came a little out of nowhere.
Yeah, there's not... From the 12 dancing girls, princesses, there's not that many personalities that stand out, if at all.
Yeah.
Compared to the different Barbies that we had in the past. At least give us a sassy one. Which we don't really have.
Yeah, because the last few Barbie characters have been more interesting. So we had her two characters in Princess and the Pauper. We had her character in Magic of Pegasus, who's kind of sassy and fun to watch on screen. And then we had Alina in Fairytopia, who...
Well, even in Barbie Diaries.
Yeah, and Barbie Diaries, that's the one where she's sort of the most flawed character. And here it's just like, okay, we're back to the Rapunzel and the Nutcracker, where it's just like, she's kind, clever, and brave. And in this one, she's always late.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of all going on with her character.
I am kind of curious, why isn't she the eldest daughter? Because she sure acts like it, so I wonder why they didn't just make her the eldest.
She's also, I believe, the tallest model.
Yeah, I think all of the older girls are the same height. Like, I think I have a reasoning for that, and that is that most of the other princesses have no more than one defining trait, and for Ashlyn, the eldest, her defining trait is that she's the eldest. So if Genevieve is the eldest instead, then Ashlyn doesn't have anything. They'd have to come up with a
different trait,
yeah. Yeah, speaking of these other princesses, in order we have Ashlyn, she's the eldest. Blair, she likes horses. Courtney, she's the bookish one. Delia and Edeline are the sporty ones. Fallon is the late night talk show host.
What?
Hadley and Isla are on stilts. Janessa likes bugs. Kathleen, who knows? And Lacey is the youngest, who's kind of the timid and shy one. Yes, one of the princesses is named Fallon. And it is even spelled exactly like Jimmy Fallon, the late night talk show host.
I don't even remember a Fallon.
Yeah, because the idea is all of their names go in alphabetical order.
Oh.
I don't know why they decided Fallon would be the name. Obviously, I don't think Jimmy Fallon was nearly as...
G H I J K L. Okay, yeah. Okay. That works.
Well, yeah, they needed a name that starts with F, so...
Yeah.
That might have been the most princess-sounding name.
Fiona!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there we
Although
go.
that's Shrek. Florence, that's a... But, yeah, it's... Like, going through that list, I did make the joke of Fallon is the late night talk show host, but that's because her character in the movie doesn't have any other character traits. She doesn't have any lines that stand out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Kathleen's the other one who, like, doesn't even have a defining character trait. She's just the middle of the triplets.
Mm-hmm.
And then Hadley and Isla are on stilts. That's their defining character trait. It's like some of these, like, Blair being bookish and Delia and Edeline being sporty. Those are sort of very specific traits that you can build a character around without having to do a lot of establishing work. But that a lot of these other characters are just kind of like, well, I guess Janessa likes bugs.
She likes bugs.
And Ashlyn is the oldest. And that is...
And doesn't act like the oldest because...
No, because we have to have Princess Genevieve be the center.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could have done a little bit more to distinguish their personalities. And even get creative with it. Like, what if one of them likes biology and is able to identify the different flowers that everyone has?
They were probably on a time constraint. And
Yeah.
just had to focus, or just take all these characteristics that would be great for one person, and then just spread them out.
Yeah.
Except
And be
they
like-
did that, and then the princesses never work as a team until, like, the very end, but it's always Genevieve who comes up with, oh, this, look at how the books match this, and then this is the sequence you have to do it in. There wasn't much teamwork there, which would have been cool to see.
It's always Genevieve.
Yeah.
Oh, one last thing. When Genevieve and Derek are dancing to get their way out, they stop dancing in pattern
Yes.
and just dance for no reason. You'd think that they stop when it's like, nothing happened.
They were too in love and too wrapped up in the moment. They didn't care about getting out anymore.
Yep.
Also, the girls would have been trapped down there if he wasn't down there because they would never have been able to get out.
Well, they could dance together.
Yeah, they could have. I don't know what the rules were. It was a little bit ambiguous.
You can
but...
wish to dance with your prince again.
Oh,
This
there
gold
we go.
statue
There we go.
would come in.
And then you could get a gold statue for the garden.
Mm.
Yeah, speaking of Derek, he's kind of just the love interest.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like a Sherlock Holmes character, figuring out the pattern just by the cobbler grease or something.
Yeah, the shoe polish.
Yeah, shoe polish.
That's another name for it, cobbler grease. I do like his relationship with Genevieve. I think it's believable. I don't think
It's
ending
similar.
in the wedding works. Yeah,
It's similar to like Fabian in Princess and the Pauper, where they knew each other from repeat meetings.
Yeah,
Like they already know each other in this film, versus they're just meeting in most of them.
and we do buy that they have this like fascination with each other, but haven't really said it out loud. And it's only in the end of the movie where it's like, okay, yeah, they're kind of, they make sense as a couple together. Does the movie need to end in their wedding? Probably not. But I guess it's
for
what
toys.
it is, yeah, the relationship works for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Duchess Rowena. She's a pretty standard villain for one of these movies.
Yeah.
Like we said... Oh, go
She's
ahead.
Preminger if Preminger was just more composed.
Yeah. More composed and less adaptable in her plan.
Mm-hmm.
I do think not being privy to her plan throughout the movie, it is interesting that the characters have to figure it out, but for us as the audience, there isn't any ambiguity there.
Yeah, she plays the role of the standard, not that fun teacher, evil stepmother role.
Yeah.
But there's not much distinction with her.
But
well.
I could see it working where either we're in on her plan the whole time the way we are with Preminger.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like she explains it to the audience and now we're invested in her plan, not in its success but in its failure. Or you do the opposite where there's something strange going on with Rowena but the audience isn't quite sure what it is. And they kind of try and split the difference, but they end up getting the worst of each. Because you know exactly what her plan is, but the characters spend a lot of time trying to figure it out. Yeah, maybe that's more of a story thing, but I do think it applies to why her character is maybe a bit less memorable than someone like Preminger.
I like the monkey better.
The monkey is kind of fun.
Take him out. Just no more animal sidekicks.
Yeah, the other animal sidekicks in the movie, we have Twyla the cat.
Twyla's so cute.
Twyla has nothing to add to this film.
Well, yeah, but
She just disappears by the end. She doesn't do anything. The parrot does things.
The parrot, Felix the parrot is kind of fun. He has a good dynamic with Derek.
No, why is he talking all the lot?
Because he's the only animal that the humans can actually understand.
Yeah, this movie does the thing that Princess and the Pauper did, where the animals can talk to each other, but not necessarily to the humans, except for Felix. Now, personally, I think the scenes we get with Felix and Derek are fun.
It's because they need to have Derek talk to someone.
Yeah. I would have liked a few more of those scenes, and just like... Yeah, thinking about it, this movie... Most of these Barbie movies benefit from being short. I think this one could have done with an extra 15 minutes. To give us more character moments with the princesses, and to kind of give Derek a little bit more to do.
I can tell you where those minutes went to. The dancing.
Yes. Which we'll get into the animation later, but yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, King Randolph is the next major character. And like I said before, I think he's the most interesting character in the movie. Because he's just trying to look out for his daughters, but he doesn't quite know how. And he doesn't realize that the way to look out for his daughters is to let them be who they are. And then he has to that's the arc he has to go through. Because at the beginning, Emma, I know you mentioned that he starts out the movie by he's letting them be who they are, and that he thinks, oh, maybe I shouldn't. But I do think he starts out the movie sort of in this place where he's overwhelmed by, like, what do I do? How do I raise these daughters? And then over the course of the movie, well, specifically by the end of the movie, he realizes, oh, I don't need to do anything different than what I've been doing, besides not worry about it.
Are we in Russia?
I don't think so. The palace design is very interesting.
Well, it's just the accent of the fake Preminger from the beginning.
Yeah, I
And
think
the way the princesses refer to the king as Papa, which sounds
Yeah.
more like one of those mid-European countries.
I mean, all of these movies are sort of ambiguously European.
Mm-hmm. Even though Duchess has French-inspired design.
Yeah. It's pulling from a lot of different countries, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, last up on my character list, I have Desmond.
Who's
He's
Desmond?
He's
Oh, the sidekick to the
Rowena.
Duchess.
Yeah. He's just kind of fun as like he's not particularly smart, but he is very strong. And he had some fun moments.
Yeah, Jacob, you were talking about how like you wish they had focused more time on the characters, and John talking about like the animals. I feel like they could have removed the animals and done more characters, because I do feel like I like the animals better than some of the characters, but really they could have put some of that time and charm into some of the princesses,
Right.
and that might have been
Yeah,
more interesting.
give Twyla's personality of like the fierce but not necessarily big
To
enough
Kathleen.
to do anything to Kathleen, who doesn't have any characteristics.
Yeah. So really, they could have like changed the animals for some of the princesses, and that would have helped a little bit. But then you don't get the cute animals, so.
Yeah, this is
Who
you can
needs
tell
them?
they're selling some toys with some of these.
They're trying really hard at this point to find the cute animals.
Yeah, I will also say with the princesses, giving each of them their own unique thing would have been a very good thing to do from a toy perspective. Because then you can have each, and maybe they did do this, I'm not entirely sure what the dolls for this movie looked like, but then you can have like each princess comes with a little prop that has something to do with who she is.
Yeah, it's also like they're divided by color schemes as well.
Yeah.
Until the Duchess shows up and then they all wear the exact same colors, and then you can't tell anyone apart again. Because you don't know what color they are.
Yeah. Like, there's such an opportunity there to be like, to have these 12 different characters who each represent a different, like, personality trait or interest in, like, something. And then people could be like, oh, I like Ashlyn more. No, I like Fallon more. She's funnier. No, I like John Oliver more. Tried to think of other late night talk show hosts. Yeah, so overall I gave the characters a 4 out of 5. I think King Randolph as a character holds the movie together, And I think everyone else, well, not everyone else, the other major characters are doing what they need to do, but there's a real missed opportunity with the other 11 princesses.
Yeah, I gave it a 3 just because there are way too many characters, but you can't look at one of them and ask, who's this character? Because they're all very similar. Even if they have the little quirks, they're all similar. It's hard to distinguish them. And just some other characters like the Duchess, who, sure, she does her job as an interesting villain, but a lot of the characters aren't as interesting or fleshed out in this one. And there's just so many in this one. So yeah.
Yeah, and I gave it a 2. I mean, yeah, I do think all the characters fulfill their purpose and all that. I just wish there was more depth to them. And I understand that you can't really give depth to all the 12 princesses, but like the characters who did have depth, I feel like could have gotten a bit more. We could have gone a bit more into the dad and his whole arc, or the Duchess and why she wants the throne and all that, you know.
So next up we have the animation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the animation is pretty great this time around, especially coming off of Barbie Diaries.
Oh yeah. The backgrounds especially just look so nice. Like the opening shot of their kingdom, quote unquote, just looks so nice.
Yeah.
Like you see those plants, they look so good. I'm wondering if they're reusing the same castle as in the other films.
Yeah,
because
they must...
the gate looks similar, like their road looks similar. I just wonder if they're just changing their floor design to switch things up.
Yeah, I know they do sometimes reuse sets. I do think each castle is like slightly different, but they might be taking elements from them. This
like
one
the
is
same gate,
yeah,
same walls, but rearrange them differently.
yeah. This one is interesting. It looks kind of like Naboo, the Palace of Naboo. It has the domes and a very similar color scheme. The sort of sandstone with like brownish green accents. To be honest, like it looks good on a quality level. I think on a design level, it's a little bit bland.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the quality of everything is so much better here. We've got better character models. All of the supporting characters look better.
Updated textures for hair.
Yeah. Better hair textures, better clothing. Like there are some intricate outfits here. I think Rowena's dress is the standout. It has all of these embroidered patterns all over it. And
good color scheme for her as well.
The silhouette is unique. It's the quality itself is so much better here than it has been. Of course, they've been improving a little bit each time, and I think the last few movies, Barbie Diary excluded, I have had pretty stellar animation. But yeah, this does feel like another jump in quality.
Mm-hmm. And of course, they're motion capturing ballet again, so of course that looks nice as well.
Yes. I will be honest, though, I think the scenes aren't shot in nearly as dynamic a way as Nutcracker or Swan Lake, but it is nice to see some more motion capture dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Even if they use the same motion capture for all the princesses.
Yes, the choreography is copy and pasted between the characters, which when you have 12 characters,
yeah, like, I don't think that's worth spending the extra money to like shoot that twice to get, or 12 times to get the 12 different princesses, you know. So.
Yeah, and they do have scenes where it's multiple characters dancing together, so then they do have a bit. I do think since we're speaking of the characters, I do think they could have done a lot more to distinguish the 12 princesses.
Yeah, because so many of them just are using the exact same model with slightly different hair color.
Yeah, and not even different hairstyles necessarily.
Yeah.
Like you could do a lot with the character design, with the costume design as well, rather than just having these very similar looking princesses. Why not give each of them a very specific look to help them stand out? Like maybe, I don't know, one wears pigtails and one has a bun and one, I don't know.
Yeah, instead of
One
just
wears
having
pants.
3 different Kellys that look exactly the same,
Yeah.
except different hair.
It reminds me, oddly enough, of the Hobbit movies. Where in the Hobbit movies, very different movies with a very different set of characters. That's 13 dwarves. But they're very creative in how they distinguish these dwarves, so that even if you don't know all of their names or who each of them is, you can tell, oh yeah, that one is different than that one. And I remember that's the guy with the axe stuck in his head. And oh, he's the one with the star-shaped beard. And
That's the fat one.
yeah, but here there isn't really all that much done to make each of the princesses a unique design.
Besides color schemes, but then once they take away the colors, it just gets even more confusing.
Yeah. If you asked me to identify any of the princesses, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
I could look at the Gwendolyn, the Barbie one, and be like, maybe that one, but she also looks so similar to the other one. What's her name?
Is it Fallon?
It's someone. The other blonde one that looks like her, but it's a little bit shorter. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, really, and the dress designs are the exact same, it's just the color that's different until you get to the different age groups, you know?
Yeah.
It's like the teenagers have a different dress design, the little kids have a little different dress design, but besides that, it's the exact same.
But they're all animated mostly well, yeah. So that's a plus.
Yeah, do you have any thoughts about the overall animation?
I thought it was really good. Like, everything, like, they all moved realistically, and then there was a lot of character in the things. Like, you could tell right away the wagon that the Duchess arrives in was falling apart just as it was going because one of the wheels was wobbling, which I thought was cool. So, like, they didn't cut corners or anything. They took the time, and I think that showed through.
Yeah, I think overall quality-wise, it's very good. It's the designs that are maybe a little bit lacking.
Like, the movement, I was really impressed with. The designs and, like, visuals of it was a bit, like, doesn't hold up today.
Yeah. Some characters have stronger designs than others.
Yeah.
But the princesses are the ones that struggled. Also, when they brought in the guards at the end, they're all copy and paste of each other. But
yep.
Who cares?
Yeah, I will
say... They're wearing
say...
armor, it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say the supporting characters who aren't princesses are all very well realized here. I think especially King Randolph and Duchess Rowena. That, like, their models are very well designed, and you can tell they're getting a hang of facial expressions because there's less uncanny valley here than there has been in some of these other Barbie movies.
Yeah, they don't have the dynamic hair movement of Barbie Diaries, but updating their textures just does help with what they have here.
So yeah, overall I gave the animation a 4.5 out of 5. I think it's a jump up in quality, and I'm excited to see moving forward.
Yeah.
Hopefully they can come up with some better designs to match the jump in quality, just technology-wise.
Yeah, I give it a 4 as well. Even though it's, again, more dancing. Because of the update of quality and just some of their assets, it just looks nice to look at.
And I also gave it a 4. Really good movement. Visuals are pretty good. Could still, like, not quite enough to be a 5, though, so...
Yeah. Good scores across the board for animation. We're
right.
kind of all in agreement here. Maybe more so than we have been. Next up, we have the voice acting. Kelly Sheridan, once again Barbie, once again pretty solid.
Yeah, but again, she's basic Barbie again.
Yeah, there's not a lot that she gets to do here vocally.
Does she only do one character this time?
Yes, she isn't playing any of the other princesses. I don't
Even
know
though,
if she might do.
even though I feel like there's some moments where I feel like her voice is coming out of someone else.
Yeah, the various princess voices aren't necessarily distinguished from each other. Now, I think the only person who has a difficult time with it is Ashley Ball, who is playing both Princess Hadley and Princess Isla. And there's several times since her characters are twins where she has to deliver a line as one of the twin and then finish it as the other. And I don't know why, but there isn't any vocal distinguishing between either of the characters. So it just sounds like someone put an awkward pause in the middle of their line rather than two separate characters. And I'm guessing that's more the directing than the performance.
Yeah, because she can do distinct voices. We do see it in My Little Pony, because she plays two of the main characters, Applejack and Rainbow Dash. So it must be because the characters are twins, they have to sound similar enough. But I'm surprised that they hired so many different actresses to play princesses in here.
Yeah, and they're mostly people we have seen in other Barbie movies or heard in other Barbie movies.
Yeah, of course. We got Nicole and Kathleen Barr again.
Yep, and we have
Shahrazani.
Yep. Ashley Ball has been in several of these. I believe Britt McKillop has been in some. Chantel Strand. She's played Kelly in quite a few of these.
The most surprised I am is with Sean McDonald, because I just thought he was the same guy that we had before.
Yeah, as the Ken character here, they brought in. This is his only Barbie movie. His first and his last. He's mainly known as a TV actor.
It's so weird, because like his first lines are like, "Oh yeah, that's clearly the same guy." Like, I don't know what happened. Like, does it just sound that good, or did they switch halfway through?
Yeah, because it helps with the continuity to have such a similar voice for the Ken character.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Especially since we've had Kelly Sheridan in all of these movies so far.
It's a shame that the monkey Brutus didn't stab the Duchess in the back.
Yes, that would have been an interesting reference.
I figured it was too far-fetched, but et tu Brutus, they could have tried.
Yeah. Speaking of the Duchess, she is played by Catherine O'Hara, who is our first celebrity voice actor in a while. This is her first Barbie movie, but she's a very well-known actress. She did Home Alone, she was in Beetlejuice. Most recently, she's well-known for her role in Schitt's Creek, which is such a great performance.
And spelled differently as well,
yeah.
in case you were wondering.
Yes. Here she's just not quite at the level I was hoping for.
Yeah.
Like, these villain roles are a chance for these actors to just, like, go 110% in, do big voices, be hammy. And she does a little bit of that, but she's surprisingly restrained.
I don't know. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the voice acting, but I did like how none of it felt out of place or, like, it felt like the characters were actually talking, and it fit, like, the voices fit very well with the characters, so.
Yeah.
I think if she did go a whole lot more into it and did bigger stuff, it might have kind of lost a bit of that.
Yeah, it's also like all of our other celebrity voice actors have had a very distinct performance that to hear this one just blend in.
Yeah. And part of that, honestly, is just that I'm a fan of Catherine O'Hara's work, especially on Schitt's Creek, where she has a very distinct voice and a very distinct accent, and she's playing very broadly. Whereas here, she's a bit more naturalistic, and she's blending into the fabric of the movie a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think her performance is bad, it just wasn't what I was quite expecting. Yeah, overall, pretty decent work across the board. Nothing that really stood out too much.
I believe we all had the same score.
Yeah, I have a 4 out of 5 for the voice acting, just all around very, very good, but not sort of stand out.
Yeah, stay with me. 4 out of 5 for same reasons.
Yep, 4 out of 5. Like I said, it felt like it fit the movie very well. Didn't feel out of place. And then there were a few like lines here and there that were a bit meh, but that was about it.
Yep, we all agree here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have the music. I just thought the music for this movie was great all around. The Mendelssohn's classic music isn't as often played as some of the other pieces that they've had in these movies, and it's great to hear it be integrated so well. I will say my one big complaint is that I would have liked, they do have a few sort of musical style songs, but they don't have any big music numbers here. And I wonder how this movie would have worked as a musical.
It probably would have helped so much.
Yeah. Specifically with introducing the princesses, when each princess can say, I'm Princess Ashley, I'm the eldest. I'm Princess Brianna, I like horses. Actually, I think it's Blair that likes horses. I'm Princess Courtney, I read books. Like, you can get away with that in a musical in a way you can't in a...
I'm Kathleen, I exist.
Yeah. Like, it would have helped to define the characters a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But that said, I do think that the music all around is very good. And I love the floor, the notes on that play when they walk on the floor, how that gets integrated into an actual song when they escape the magical pavilion.
I think for me, I of course I do love Orny Roth here. They always do some great stuff and have an orchestra. Here, I think this is probably my least favorite of the Orny Roth soundtracks. His basic soundtrack was not as strong. It didn't pop out as much as others. I also felt like there were just some moments where it didn't sound like they were using an orchestra. That they were just using sound effects from libraries to create music.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with music, so I wouldn't have noticed that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any comments, Emma?
No. Basically same as Jay. Just overall was pretty good. I do think it starts to sound similar, but probably just because, it's all same type of music anyway. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I gave the music a 5 out of 5. I think the way specifically that the notes from the entrance to the dance pavilion get integrated into the score later on really ties everything together well.
I give it a 4 because it's still solid.
4. Yeah, because good music, but kind of wish there was a little bit more variety.
Mm-hmm. And that leaves me with an overall score of 18.5, which is 74%, or a 3.7 5-star rating.
Yep, I have an overall score of 22 out of 25, so that's an 88% or a 4.4, much higher than your score, John.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm bringing the average down with a 17. And that's 68% or 3.4.
Yeah, so overall that gives us an average score of 19 overall. That's 76% or 3.8. So 19 overall, that puts us in the same ballpark as Swan Lake in terms of overall score. Towards the front of the pack here, so to speak.
Yeah, still towards the front.
Definitely better than Barbie Diaries.
Although, I will say, is that while Barbie Diaries had too many subplots, this film could have used more.
Yeah. Yeah, it is interesting that this movie could have just benefited from more in almost every department except for characters.
More depth to the characters, but not more characters.
Yeah. More time spent, more musical numbers, more subplots, more things happening
More
to justify.
money.
Yes. All of these movies could use a little bit more money, but they have done a very good job working with what they have to, like, overall, I think, for me at least, this movie falls higher in my rankings than it does for everyone else, but yeah, I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I
And
had fun.
It was okay.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. Make sure to follow us on social media. We are Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram, at Binging Barbie on Twitter, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. There you can find an up-to-date list of all of our Barbie movie rankings. And join us next week for the final movie in the original Fairytopia trilogy, The Magic of the Rainbow. Will we shed a tear as we say bye-bye Toodlepoof to Bibble? Tune in to find out.